You tell me your name?
Mario Capecchi. I'm at the University of Utah uh, in the Department of Human Genetics as a professor.
Okay, what brought you to Corpus Christi, Texas?
Well, I think anytime I get invitations from students, I'm up for it because they're the next generation of scientists, and I think anything we can do to encourage them and to support them is time well spent.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you've done and what you've accomplished?
Well, what we do is we use mice, and mice are about 99% the same as us in terms of gene content. And so what we've developed, the technology is to change any gene we want in any way we want, and in that way decipher what that gene is doing. And many diseases, over 5,000 diseases are caused by just single mutation, and then all the others are caused by multiple mutations. So anything you do in medicine is going to involve genes, and this allows us then to model any disease in a mouse that's present in humans. And the modeling is extremely precise. So we can use the mouse then to study the disease on the one hand, then once we understand the disease, then we can use it as a platform to develop new therapies, which are then directly applicable to humans.
Okay. What is the future of your research?
I think you can study any disease. I mean, you can study we, for example, study cancers that affect children. And why do we do that? Because if a child gets a cancer, I think it's much more aggressive than it is for us. I mean, we've had our life; they haven't even started. And these diseases actually don't get a lot of attention simply because they're not as common. Most cancers occur as you go older. So those are the most common cancers, but they're extremely aggressive. And for example, 80% of the children will die within 5 years after first diagnosis, and that's currently. Okay, and that's just travesty. And so I think by understanding the cancer, then we can develop a therapy and give them a second chance. So I think, and this can be repeated over and over again in any disease you can think of. I mean, neuropsychiatric disorders, obesity, you name it, it'll have genetic components, and those genes affect the disease as well as be able to ameliorate the disease.
My question is pretty simple. Where are you now in the state of the art of your research with the knockout mice?
I think, each one is, every cancer is different. And so each one is going to have to be modeled. And that's true whether you're talking about diabetes, which affects many people and actually a growing number of people, or you're talking about cancer. Cancer, I think we're going to be able to manage fairly well even in the very foreseeable future. Scientists talk about the future as being 10 years. Whereas other diseases, for example, they affect the mind. We don't know very much about how the brain works, and therefore we're not very effective in correcting those diseases. But they will just take a little longer. So I think we're in the beginning, and we're well along the way in terms of cancer, but we're still just the beginning, for example, with neuropsychiatric disorders. But one has to remember that, for example, most things like anxiety disorder affect 20% of the people. In this room, one of us, to the degree that we'll have to go to a hospital. I mean, it's not just that you don't feel good; you're going to have help. Okay, 1 in 5 people. Okay, so these are very common. Anything you can think about: monopolar disorders, bipolar depression, schizophrenia. All of those affect 3 to 5% of people, millions of people. Okay, so those are the things we're going to have to get to know as a next step. Okay? And what we're looking for is not simply curing the disease, but making you also productive. I mean, it's not good enough just to live a long life unless you're productive and happy with your life. So I think and that's what we have a future for. But it's not my generation, it's the next generation, and that's why I'm here, to inspire that next generation of students.
I wonder how you come up with a retrovirus to change that genome.
Well, I think, because viruses know a lot. I mean, they're adapted and they can change faster than anything else. I mean, you know, we think bacteria change quickly. Viruses are much better at it, and we're very slow at it. We take millions of years to evolve. A virus can, next year's flu isn't even thought about yet. Okay, it's just developing. So they can change extremely rapidly, and that means that our attack has to change with it. And for example, we can't just make a vaccine that's very specific for a particular virus because it won't work on next year's strain. So I think we have to keep up with whatever nature presents us, but I think we're up to it. I mean, and a big problem we have, I think, is global warming. I mean, that's an enormous problem, and it's coming, and we have to first of all recognize that it's a problem, and then start really working on it so that we are effective at it. And I think if we don't, we're going to be in deep trouble, particularly in Corpus Christi. You can see the ocean right out there.
Thank you very much.